Hello, everybody. We're coming to you live here on Trade Deadline Tuesday. Andrew Destin with Jason Mackey. It's been a crazy day. You're seeing this Wednesday morning. We're recording this late after the game Tuesday night. As you can tell, Jason is tired. I'm tired. Not as tired as him. This has been a long day. But trade deadline, obviously, lots going on in Pirates world. Jason, I'll pivot it to your corner. Lots of trades today, of course. Starting, of course, G-Man Choi and Rich Hill going to the Padres. Let's just take it from there. Initial thoughts on the day as a whole, and we can go trade by trade.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked what they did. Moreover, I liked what they didn't do. I was really worried, and this is sort of the behind the curtain kind of thing. I'm checking on things throughout the day. Are they going to trade Bednar? Are they going to trade Keller? Honestly, it was a lot of quiet. It was a lot of, sending messages to not get a response. One of the things I got back was from somebody that I do trust a lot with this stuff. And he said, I'm really getting the sense that Bednar could be moved, that there's a lot of teams calling on him. They could do it if they want to or whatever. And at that point, I said, no, if this happens, but I think it also makes sense to not trade Bednar. You would have to have an extraordinary package, and I'm sure that didn't arrive. And so the best move was to keep Bednar, Keller. I like the moves that they made. I like what they got back for Choi and Hill. I have no problem with that. I'm glad they put an end to the Austin Hedges situation. I think it deserves to just be over. It wasn't a great fit here. It's nothing against Austin Hedges. And they got some pitching back. I'm curious with Bailey Falter. And again, I'm sure we'll get into all of these individually, but I don't think it was going to happen for Rodolfo Castro here. I think that was a smart move to get some pitching. So by and large, I kind of liked what they did today.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, especially on you mentioned a couple of those last trades. I mean, I think pitching depth especially, maybe some of the guys that they acquired today, you're not looking at and saying, hey, this is a frontline starter. They might not have the same stuff, but there is a definite need of AAA/quad A guys of you got to get through the rest of this season and also just have better depth for next season. Because, I mean, we've seen how fickle pitching depth can be in the big leagues. This was a team that, go back to March, Pirates probably felt really good about their starting pitching depth, or at least felt decently good. And as the season wore on, injuries and all those sort of things racked up. So that's one point. But then also on the Rodolfo Castro front, I mean, just given what we're seeing with the middle infield depth here, how things kind of worked out for Rudy here, it seemed like the change of scenery was probably the right play for him, right?
Yeah, I agree. And you have to envision too, O'Neal Cruz is going to be back in a couple weeks. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. I think maybe this is the calculus that went into it for Ben Cherington, but I would look at this and say, I've seen enough out of Liover Peguero, Nick Gonzalez, Alika Williams, some combination thereof. I want to see those guys play. I'm not in a hurry to see Rodolfo Castro play baseball anywhere. And I could think, all right, well, do I move him to first base? I don't really have a lot of opportunity I want to give him there. I want Key Brian Hayes to play third base. I don't want Castro in the outfield. So all of a sudden I'm out of positions. And are we just going to let him fester in the minor leagues? Maybe. But again, like you said, with Falter and Jackson Wolf, who I keep wanting to call Jackson Hole, and I guarantee I will do it for some darn reason. So I'm sorry about that in advance, Jackson. But I like what they did for the pitching depth. And if you have to give up Castro to do it, whatever. You have to give to get. And I think that was exactly one of Cherington's comments.
Yeah. With first base is another one that I have to touch on with you there, because obviously Santana moved a little bit around a week ago. With Choi now getting moved today, along with Hill, which that's another discussion point I'm sure we'll get into here about what Hill exactly meant to this rotation and the team at large. But first base, I mean, it's Connor Joe is the starter there today. He got the reps there. Is this something that you envision? Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but is this Connor Joe's job for the next 2 months? Do we see some?
No, I don't think it is.
There's got to be a bunch of guys trying their hand there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a platoon. I think they married themselves pretty well. Alfonso Rivas and Connor Joe. Connor Joe hits lefties well. Rivas hits righties well. You can kind of just go a straight swap. I'd like to see a little bit more with Connor Joe defensively. I think they're going to get in a situation carrying three catchers. If you're going to try to get Henry Davis reps behind the plate, you're probably going to want Andy Rodriguez's bat in the lineup. So maybe he goes out there a little bit. But, I look at Rivas to hit right-handers, Joe to hit left-handers, and figure out what happens from there. And, if Malcolm Nunez gets hot in September, let's give him a look. Right. I'm starting to have some doubts about Jared Triolo.
Yeah,
I am. I want to see it work out. I think he's going to be good defensively. the slug just is not there.
Nope.
Like a 619 OPS.
I think it's 2 extra base hits so far, and it's like 24 singles.
I know.
That's it.
He has good at bats. Like he's in command of the strike zone more often than he has not, but he's just not getting anything into the ball. And I worry about the sustainability of that. I worry about allocating a position like first base that you traditionally look for offense to come from that spot. Just concerns me a little bit. That's beside sort of what we're talking about, which is something that's been on my brain tonight.
Yeah, me too, because it's relevant just in the sense of, okay, what do you do with Rivas coming in? That seems like a logical, okay, right. They said they're going to have him in the big leagues. He's going to play over there a good amount. Yep. It's going to be him and Joe. And
if you look at his numbers, by the way,
Choi,
they're quite good.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting him to stick up here, which he hasn't had that chance yet. He's had cups of coffee, but it's let him have the runway, right?
And the other thing we should think about too, while we're talking about numbers of AAA being really good, at what point does Miguel Andujar have to come back up here? And I sort of want Miguel Andujar to come back up here, so I quit hearing people talk about him like he's the second coming. Nothing against Miguel Andujar, but it looks like a quad A player all the way for me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope something changes. I don't know how he hit 27 home runs one year because the at-bats that we've seen in Pittsburgh largely stunk. But, I mean, dude's crushing the ball.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to bring him up here, and I'm not sure where you play him if you're going to have Reynolds, Sawinski, and Henry Davis in the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, especially because he's taken some of those reps at first base, but like we've just mentioned, they've made the moves to kind of remedy that situation, or at least to have some guys there. Outfield is certainly crowded. You have Josh Palacios, who even factors in probably ahead of Miguel Andujar at this point.
This is all relative, by the way.
Yeah.
I realize as I'm talking and hearing Andrew talking, this is a team that's going to lose 95 games. We'll talk about, I don't know if you could find space. You could find space.
Yes.
All right. We're just relatively speaking. So it takes some juggling, but we've seen this team. There'll probably be 19 people that get hurt before the end of the year, and then the stuff crumbles. So who knows? I think there will be opportunity for people.
There'll be a lot of opportunity, but specifically the rotation with Hill moving on out.
Yep.
I'm curious if you have, one, any thoughts about who comes in to fill that spot in the rotation immediately, and two, I guess we can segue that into the conversation of what Hill meant to this staff, because he was a very courteous guy with us all throughout, took the time to chat with us before he departed.
Yeah.
I have nothing but good things to say about Hill. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, I really like Rich. I'll start on a personal note for a second. And the way we sort of do these things, we have two of us here. We'll kind of divide and conquer. And I went up at one point to start writing and updating a story. Andrew went down on the field because Brian Hayes was going to talk. And so we're just, in different spots. But he texts me that, Hill is about to talk outside of the clubhouse. And I could have easily left that to you. And I just didn't want to. Like, I just wanted to say thank you to Rich and how nice and courteous and caring that he's been. Undoubtedly one of the most genuine, whatever you want to say, professional athletes I've ever dealt with. Like, I put him right up there baseball wise with like a Jacob Stallings. It's just a really, really good person. Hockey wise, you're talking about Fleury, Crosby, just like salt of the earth, good people. And I think that really resonated with people. I know, people might get mad about the results on the back of his baseball card, and that's completely fair. He's making $8 million and whatever, but really, really good person. I'll miss him. Anyway, what to do with the rotation? This is an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you Keller, Oviedo, Priester's going to get starts. I think they need to get Luis Ortiz back in there at some point. I don't know if it's right now, but at some point.
Yeah, they got to get him right.
I would like to see them give Bailey Falter a chance and see how he pitches here. And I thought, based on what Ben Cherington said after the deadline, talking about PNC Park, and we've liked him for several years, and we like his deception and strike throwing and all this stuff, this kid intrigues me. And they've done good things with left-handed pitching before. Tyler Anderson, Jose Quintana. Granted, this is like a warp speed. We have to learn you right away and get you right out there. But he kind of intrigues me. What about you? Where would you go?
Yeah, I mean, Falter's a good place to start. I think Wolf is somebody that you think about. He's probably a little bit further away. I know, what's the word on him? Start him in Double-A is what they're kind of thinking? Or
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's where he's pitched. He
has pitched in the
big leagues.
Yeah.
That threw me off.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that the first time through, and I'm like, Double-A, okay, it's having a good result. And then I realized he made his MLB debut July 22nd.
Yeah.
That I don't know if you want to do that though.
Probably too soon.
Like, I would knock on Falter's door first. I'd probably knock on Ortiz's door if he follows up his last start with the good one. I like him though.
Yeah.
I like the Jackson Hole. our buddy.
There it is. First one.
I know. That wasn't
I know, of course. But no, with Falter, he's a guy I'm similarly intrigued, especially because I know Ben Cherington made these comments, but Citizens Bank Ballpark, right? I mean, that's a hitter's park as through and through as they come. This is a guy who the results obviously weren't there in Philadelphia when he was pitching there in a hitter's park.
Yep.
I'm curious to see you move him out to this division where, admittedly, the NL Central is not quite as deep as the NL East. The pitching ballparks, you got a number of them that it plays better, maybe his stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors there that you look at what this franchise has done in terms of, remedying some pitchers who haven't maybe put together results on other teams, especially lefties. He's a guy who is interesting, especially because you look at the minor league system. It's not like it's chock full of lefties, aside from Anthony Solometo.
Right.
Like, this isn't like, hey, they have lefty depth. You need left-handed pitching in your rotation. I mean, you don't have to necessarily, but like
it helps.
Yeah,
they've had to go buy it on the free agent market the past 3 years.
Yeah,
it is amazing how right-handed they are.
Yeah,
with a lot of their pitching options, and that's kind of changed. So, yeah, I'm curious about that. And another element I would throw with Bailey Falter that I've sort of thought about with this. I mean, you're pitching for the Phillies. Obviously, not an easy crowd, an easy place to pitch in terms of expectations. And if things go wrong, you're also pitching in the NL East, as you said, for a very competitive team that, is built to reach the World Series, reach the postseason. Things are obviously much different here. I wonder how much that helps him. Yeah. I wonder if he can just kind of relax a little bit, have the runway to work on some things, make some corrections, not feel like he's going to be yanked out of the game and booed relentlessly the moment something goes wrong. So, yeah, he certainly intrigues me.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. It's like I think back the minute I acquired him, I was thinking back to obviously, much different caliber of pitchers, but it's like when a Sonny Gray, for instance, went from Oakland to New York, like how much of a struggle that was for him.
Yeah,
and you got him out of there, put him in Cincinnati, and he was much better. Right?
Yep.
You put him in these more, I guess not less competitive environments, but you catch the drift of, you get a guy into an environment that's more conducive to, hey, you can fail a little bit and we'll let you grow through those growing pains, which is kind of segues into some of the talks tonight in the clubhouse, because that was kind of the rave of a guy like David Bednar, who's obviously very happy to still be here, but he's like excited for the growing pains. He's looking forward to hey, there's going to be flashes. The young guys are going to come through, but there's also going to be moments where, this needs time. This needs to just let it breathe.
I thought that aspect was really interesting. And I'm actually like mid-story about this, which will probably be online by the time you watch this video. But think about this. Brian Reynolds, Mitch Keller, David Bednar, they sort of always had somebody to like look up to. Yeah. They've never been like the guys. Now they're kind of the guys, right? Like who else in this clubhouse are you going to look to? Kutch? I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
But there aren't many other ones. I mean, those are your horses at this point. And it's kind of neat. We were talking to Reynolds before the game. I thought he was really good on some of this stuff. Reynolds is a very nice man, but he's not always the most introspective. And so I give him credit. He was very good about this. And, just what we've been hearing about this is Reynolds talking. So we've been hearing about the kids for a number of years, and it's really going to be cool to see them continue to come up and produce and grow. Similar sentiment echoed by Keller, Bednar. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's going to determine so much about this team, Andrew. It really is, about the balance of this season, what sort of feeling they have going into the offseason. If they stink, man, is it going to be tense this offseason.
Yeah.
And if they're really good, it's going to be the exact opposite. People are going to say, hey, man, we turned it over to the kids. Things are good. I like what I see from Gonzalez or Henry Davis or Endy or Quinn or whatever it is. I mean, it can really go two different ways.
Yeah. And it's how do you approach, you mentioned that offseason. It's not like this past offseason was some approach of, hey, we're going to lose 100 games. It was, no, we're going to supplement,
right.
We're going to supplement it with talent.
Right.
Do you run that back and do like a very similar approach where you go, let's get a veteran first baseman. Let's get back of the rotation arms like a Vince Velasquez, like a Rich Hill. Like, do you run that back again? I think, these next 55, 56 games, whatever the number is, it impacts a lot. That's what I'm really curious about.
I mean, if they lose, I'm going to be doing math on the fly here and it's going to be bad, but if they lose 90 games, I think it's going to be largely positive, right? Like 72 and 90. I don't think anybody would look at that and be overly upset.
Right.
If they lose 95 or more, what do you feel about that? I'm not feeling great about it. I don't want to hear Ben Cherington talking about progress at that point. I think that rings awfully hollow. And if they lose, I would say 98 or more, maybe even 95 or more, don't you have to look at the manager? Don't you have to look at what the heck are we doing here?
Yep.
Like, that's not even, oh, this is disappointing. It should be like, we're 5 years into a rebuild and there's no guarantee that things are better. I'm not saying that's how it's going to pan out. I'm just like covering hypothetical scenarios here where, if the kids win and are good for the end of the year, fantastic. We have none of this discussion matters. But if they're not and they don't see any growth, if what is held over the past 3 months continues, that's a problem.
Well, I think you bring up a great point because, at least publicly, right, when we talk to Ben Cherington, when we talk to Derek Shelton, it's Shelton's lineup card, right? He's supposedly doing with it as he pleases when it comes to who he's putting at catcher, which I think that's the point we need to discuss next is because you got Jason DeLay on the scene, which that kind of, I don't know about you, that kind of caught me for a spin a little bit. Maybe
why? Because it happened 7 minutes before the first pitch.
Well, that's certainly
caught a lot of us for a spin.
Reason number one.
Sorry.
Oh, and Brian Hayes was active, but you didn't see him tonight. But yeah, no, of Jason DeLay being here, because if this is Derek Shelton's lineup card and we don't see Henry Davis actually get back there behind the plate, then it comes into question of, what our questions, I guess, are, is Shelton evaluating the talent correctly of putting Davis behind there or not putting him back behind the plate? And other questions. That just kind of comes to mind with me is this the right guy who's, maybe on the same wavelength, has the same brain trust as Ben Cherington, but is that evaluating and using the talent as effectively, as efficiently as he needs to be? That's where my mind kind of goes.
You know where my mind went tonight? I'm tired of hearing about Henry Davis catching. People have performed surgery with less fanfare. Just either catch him or don't.
Yeah.
Honest to goodness. Or play him in right field. That's fine. I'm good with that. Or catch him. It's just, there's so much. I don't understand the delay thing. I don't understand how delay fits. It strikes me as wasting a roster spot on you're trying to be too cute or too smart or something like that. I don't understand it. Or just catch the kid. And I didn't understand this from the jump with what they're doing with Henry Davis. Catch him. If he stinks, everybody and their mother will understand why you have Henry Davis in right field. But they get mad because he's a kid picked 1-1, highly rated by nearly every prospect service as a catcher. And here you're saying, oh, he can't catch. What? Well, I don't understand. That doesn't make sense. And I feel like it's not fair to Henry. So anyway, that's just me complaining and yelling about this. And I just don't understand.
Yeah. The guy caught 99 games in college, 75 in the minors, whatever the number was. It was, it's like at some point I would just throw him out there and see what you got. But again, if that's
nothing else, you're no longer culpable for putting him in right field and people getting mad about it.
Yeah. Right.
Remember the game where he had 7 wild pitches?
Yeah.
7 pass balls, I guess I should say.
But then you point to that and say, okay, this is Endy's job, and that's that. Which it's still his job. But
I also think, where do you fall on this? That Henry should catch. I don't even care because what you're doing is sort of manipulating a roster spot, right? You don't need to carry a backup catcher if you have both of those guys. You can get them in the lineup if you rotate. Somebody catches 3 days, somebody catches 4 days. You manage it the right way. You've basically stretched your roster out a little bit, and with their offense, theoretically, at catcher, they should be to the good, or be in the bonus or whatever. I don't know what the term is. I always say you're in the red and the black. Is that right?
Yeah.
But I don't know which is which.
I think red is the negative, black is the positive, right?
See, I don't want to say it wrong, and then somebody watching this, you idiot. But no, I like the offense that they can bring at that position, a position that normally doesn't have a lot of offense to it. So I think unless Henry's going to be absolutely horrendous, I would really like them to use the balance of this season to learn what he is behind the plate. Yeah.
And that plan you're discussing is the one the Pirates like to tell us about, but have not yet deployed.
Right.
Okay, cool. We're all caught up. Sweet. Oh, man.
In their defense, it's a very awkward pre-deadline time, right?
Yeah.
You've still got people there. You've got to kind of limp to the deadline. I'm just hoping that it changes after that.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm just curious to see how it all kind of shapes up the next 2 months. Because I'll say this is going to be a lot more interesting than I think I was thinking before the deadline of, okay, well, they're going to sell off a bunch of this talent and who knows what's going to stick here. It's, I guess where I'm coming from on that is that you still have a nucleus. You didn't sell the entire family. It's still all here. You can still run with it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm really curious about.
So what did you think about covering your first trade deadline?
Ooh,
like it?
It was nice to have you there.
I'm glad somebody feels that way.
No, but it was fun. I mean, it was enjoyable just in the aspect of like this is something I've always followed my whole life of just like staying up to date with it.
Yeah.
I'll say this: the Pirates had a lot more movement than the Giants did, so I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything back at home. But no, I mean, being like part of the process, like seeing it all kind of wind down, it was neat to be part of it on that aspect, but certainly stressful and certainly time constraining. I'll say that much.
Yeah, these days are not among the easiest. I was saying to Andrew, the stories that you guys read online, like it happens, you write something really quick, get it online, go back, write, we call it a write through. You're basically adding a little bit more context, a little bit more numbers, blah, blah, blah. You do that. I think I did that 1 or 2 times for like the Hill and the Choi trade. Then you go to the park, talk to people, update with that. I think there was another update in there or whatever, but like that's in the middle. Then the Austin Hedges trade happened right as I was about to file one write through. So I write that, restart that process, have to have a write through of that. Then you're adding in the Castro trade and then Sherrington. So, I mean, there's just constant crap. And I don't mean it that way. I mean, I love this job and I'm not actually complaining about it, but it is definitely one of the crazier days that you will have on this beat. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, well, it's in the rearview mirror, but certainly has given us a lot to be mindful of and be monitoring of, which certainly, I mean, from the minor league perspective too, a lot of new guys to learn about and to write about and for you guys to all to read about. So that makes our lives certainly interesting on that aspect. But yeah.
So you did a story, which was really well done, by the way, the analysis of the post-trade deadline. And we have not had a chance to talk about that.
Yeah.
So which one are you most looking forward to now? Although I guess some of it is a little incomplete, right? Like I think about the Connor Joe thing that the calculus of that has changed. But what are you looking forward to? I'll say that like post deadline, what are you looking out for?
I think you and I might be on the same page about this one. It's of making Jack Sawinski an everyday player or not. That is really interesting.
I don't know if that's where I'd go.
Okay. So for me, that's where I go just because you've basically untouched the outfield depth, right? Okay. So that at least right now is consistent, right? You still have Cal Mitchell and Kanan Smith and Jigba and Miguel Andujar are all still in AAA. Yep. So they're basically rolling with this group. Josh Palacios is the clear number 4 and number 5 outfielder, depending how you want to shake that up with Connor Joe being in the mix. Like this is Jack Sawinski's center field job. It has been all year against righties, but he's been in and out of the lineup against lefties. The results have bettered there. The power's not there yet, but I just want to see him keep getting those ABs. Like let him run, let him get a lot of leeway out there in center. You got 2 months, see what you got in him. Is he truly a platoon player or can he develop? Because he's shown throughout his career that he's developed in a lot of different aspects. Like for instance, this year, a lot more selective of a hitter. Like he's improved in terms of getting on base, taking pitches, taking walks. Like last year we couldn't say that about him. He had a sub 300 on base percentage. So like who's to say you can't develop? You can develop at the big leagues. Yeah. I mean, Shelton's talked about it with guys like Jason DeLay getting better as a hitter. I'd like to think Jack Sawinski's a better hitter than Jason DeLay. Why can't he keep getting better against lefties? That's really prurient on my mind.
Okay. I like it. I will not argue with it. I think that's a very, very good idea. And it drives me crazy, the people that say, well, he can't hit lefties. Who cares? But he's still got an 850 OPS. Like, I think he's not exactly dragging down the lineup. Nope. I don't care if he's swinging a broom against lefties. Like, so what? But yes, I'm with you there. Mine is actually pitching.
Okay.
I find the pitching fascinating. And on so many levels, I guess I'm kind of cheating. But there's just so many different things I think are really important to this team. And I need to see play out for the end from now until the end of the regular season. Like Rowanzi Contreras being, and that was also part of your thing, I believe, being in the Florida Complex League, hasn't thrown competitively in basically a month now. They need to get him back and in major league games, in my opinion, before the year is done. I want him. I think it's important for him to go into the offseason with some confidence. Luis Ortiz, same deal. I want to see him up here. I want to feel better about that. I still think Ortiz winds up as a reliever, but whatever. I'd just like to see some improvement there. But look at the rest of the rotation, man. Like Oviedo was really good tonight.
Yep.
Does that continue? I hope it does. Mitch Keller, what ends up with him? Like, his last start was outstanding, but before that had a rough July. I want to see that water find its level or go up a little bit, maybe say it that way. But I just think there's so much intrigue. What happens with Bailey Falter? How does he handle things? Quinn Priester has been, I still don't know what Quinn Priester He's been really good for a couple innings and then struggles. So starting pitching, they have a lot of places to go. I think we're going to get a look at Paul Skeens at some point. Obviously in the minor leagues, Jackson Hole, we talked about him. Jackson Wolf, either way.
That's two.
Yes. I know. I can't pull it up either.
It's fun.
I'm a bad actor. No, but I just think there's a lot of stuff with the pitching. It's intriguing.
Yeah, no, it's on my mind as well. And I think you bring up a great point. I'm no psychiatrist or anything like that, but for Contreras' psyche, I'd have to believe that getting back up here, getting some good innings under his belt probably plays well. And, we saw it last year here in Pittsburgh, how effective he can be. That's somebody who it's not like he's escaped their plans. He's very much still a part of what they want to do. And if he's not, that's kind of an issue, it feels like.
Isn't it baffling, though, dude, just to throw 97 and now he's at like 93, 92, 93?
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. I mean, I do know how it happens, and I don't think he's hurt. I think that's something a lot of the fan base is worried about. Like these guys are pitching through some sort of arm issues. No, I think it's completely mental. I think they are wrapped around the axle. They are thinking about entirely too much stuff. And you can debate whether the Pirates are right or wrong for screwing with their mechanics and their mental state and all that stuff. But you need to untangle these kids and just let them go.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff to keep tabs on the next 2 months. I'll say that. And pitching is right at the forefront of it. Catching, God, we'll just go around the field, infield and outfield too. I'm locked in, and I know Jason is too. Anything else we might have missed on this trade deadline Tuesday? Or
I think this was a good debriefing.
Yeah,
I like where we ended. Yep.
Good talk. Well, be sure to subscribe to our content as always. Check us out on the Post-Gazette website as well as on our YouTube channel, and we will catch you all again next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.